You've got no
Okay.
chance.
We're now recording.
Right, okay.
So the first requirement is to elect a chair.
Right.
Dave, we've got a lot of feedback on you there again. So I'll open up the meeting. First item on the agenda is to elect a chair. Dave, did you have something to say about that?
Sorry?
Yeah, Dave, we've got to elect a chair. You had your hand up just before.
Yeah, I'd like to propose Anne as chair.
I will second that as well. Anne, are you happy to accept them nominations?
I am. Yes.
You are the chair then,
Right.
so I will shut up and hand over to you.
Right. We don't have any apologies, do we? Because Jason is reserve, isn't he? So
yes, so we've effectively got a full house, Anne, yeah.
Yes, okay. So as of when we get new councillors, we really want to try and co-opt them onto here, don't we? Because we're a bit thin. Okay, right, okay. Do we have any, we don't have any variations, do we, for order of? No. Okay.
I don't think so, no.
I need to declare interests. I work for Derbyshire County Council and I have an allotment. Really? Anybody else got any interests that will affect the environment?
No.
There's only me doing the community garden, but I don't know if that actually does affect because it's controlled by the PTA.
I don't think that does, Dave. I don't think we're covering that today. That's firmly under community services.
Yeah,
most definitely.
good.
Good. Okay, so public participation. Go on, tell us about what David has.
Okay, so we got we've been talking, well, I've been talking to a resident over the last few weeks about various issues, some of which fall under Dave's area. So he's particularly interested in dog fouling and things like litter. But he's raised two issues today, and he raised one actually, which was considered briefly by Dave's Community Services, but is better dealt with here, I think, actually, Anne. So the two issues that have come up through that resident are weed spraying, first of all. So again, this came up a few months ago. So the concern here is that the weed spraying chemical being used is called
glyphosate.
Glyphosate, and that has got links, or it's been shown to have links to cancer. The jury's out on it. I was literally doing a bit of research earlier today, and the point that the resident made was that it could be harmful to bees. And there is quite a lot of evidence online now that would seem to confirm that. So just to give you a little bit of background, we got a bit of a flurry on social media when the weed sprayers came round last time. It was about a month ago. They come round on little carts and do the spraying, and a lot of people were asking what was happening. So I spoke to Derbyshire County Council at the time. They do use glyphosate, and what they were saying, Anne, and I don't know whether you know more about this than me, but what they were saying was that is subcontracted out, that the contract is up for renewal in autumn of next year, and that they are looking at the chemicals that are used, and at the moment they're feeling they might move away from it, but there's no guarantees. So what I've done is I've asked them to keep me informed, and you know, if anything changes, to let us know. So that's sort of where we are with it.
I was just trying to interrupt to find out, is it definitely Derbyshire County Council, not the District Council?
You think it's district? It might be, yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was just trying to clarify. It's usually district, isn't it?
It's district, yeah. I apologise that it might well be. I'm just going from my memory. It's a while ago.
That's all been contracted out now, eh?
Yeah. The difficulty we have is if they don't kill the weeds, basically they have to resort to sending someone out with a spade, and they put it all in the, you know, how they used to do in the olden days. They used to scrape away all the soil and get the weeds out. If they don't do that, then gradually it grows to the edges of the road, doesn't it? And then of course all the drains block.
Are they? There must be, you know, safer alternatives, and that they've looked at or that they plan to look at.
I think the difficulty is that this basically kills things with tap roots.
Right. Okay.
You understand? I hate the stuff because I'm a beekeeper.
Yeah.
So I would ban it tomorrow, but I can see that there is an issue if you've got miles and miles of roads to keep, because they only do it about twice a year, don't they?
Yes, they do it in spring and they do it in autumn. Yeah.
So we can discuss with them. That's fine. You know, I'm happy to do that. I know that they will then say, well, what's the alternative? And that is our issue, actually. What is the alternative? So we need to just think about that, but we will put that into our plan as soon as to invest. And I have to be brutally honest here. I think we're going to have to go through things bit by bit and not just go here, there and everywhere, because we could go all over the place. We're going to have to look at specific areas and have a plan and deal with them date by date. But I'm very happy to go back to David and say, you know, actually, that's a very fair point. We'll put it in the plan. And maybe we look at whether there's something that he wants to help with. We know how to do certain things first. But yeah, that's a good point.
So we'll pick that up as part of the action plan at number 7. Is that what you're saying, Anna?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Right, okay, so the second one was hedge cutting. And particularly hedge cutting around, you know, autumn and winter, you know, when hedges can be a sort of lifesaver for birds and animals, you know, and the berries and food that they provide. And there is a bit of a drive, or there was a bit of a drive last year, which was all done through Autumn Watch as well, around discouraging people from tackling certain types of hedges, you know, while recognising there's a safety aspect to this. And so the questions come up really, you know, what's our stance on it? And, you know, are we prepared to do anything to encourage farmers to leave hedges where appropriate?
It's really painful, Dave. I don't know if you can hear it, the feedback is appalling.
Can you mute when you're not talking, Dave?
How do you mute?
Bottom left. That's better.
Brilliant. Oh, it's like a combination of a Sooty and Sweep show and an invasion of the Daleks, Dave, from our point of view.
Okay, so thoughts on that one then, Anne?
I think it's another one we're going to have to investigate with them, as it's where they really have to do it, because they do a lot of flail cutting, don't they? That just basically bashes.
Yes, they do. Yes. Yeah. What's just out of interest? What's district and county council stance on that? Then? You know,
there are certain designated areas where county have agreed that they will make a wildlife friendly zone, and they have looked at the safety aspects. So you'll find lots of the verges now just left to grow, aren't they?
Yes.
But they're just cut back immediately by junctions where they're affecting people's eye lines and stuff like this. So county have done quite a lot of designating particular areas, and that's probably what we need to look at. So we need to look at.
Do you think any of those designated areas are in Darley-Dale? Oh, don't you know?
I don't know that many of them are. There are a couple I know of where they've done sort of like this wildflower meadow leading up to where they've got the big tree and things at Shand House and stuff like that. They've got a couple of bits like that they've got, but I think we need to find out. I don't think they've got an awful lot with us.
Okay, well, shall I put an action on me to speak to them and find and identify any in the locality?
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Good. Okay. That would be great. But I think some of that is us designating areas and going and approaching people.
Yes.
But we will have to do quite a lot of work with that, because the problem is, as soon as you stop using weed killers and you start letting your hedges grow, then the next thing you get is the other bunch of people who complain that it's not as tidy as it used to be.
Yes, I know.
So we need
Yes,
to
I've experienced
actively
both of them.
publicise.
Yes.
This is an area that is going to be let go for a particular reason. Maybe we put a little notice just
I think that's a good idea.
saying,
Yeah, we could easily do that.
This is what we are, and we need to advertise it in like Community Voice and do stuff like this and say, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. So people understand rather than just complaining about it. Go on, Dave, unmute yourself.
We could probably put something up with environmentally controlled area and make an issue of it.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah.
And have a map where it is.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I've got quite a big project on with hedge laying down Church Lane, so that's going to help a little bit. But there's a lot of undergrowth and hedges up on district land up at the tipping.
Yes.
It's quite a bit up there, but a lot of it's private land, isn't it? Most of the hedges are on private land, especially down Church Lane towards 4 Lane Ends and whatnot.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'll mute.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, that wasn't as bad actually. Whatever it is has been turned off a bit. So, yeah, so I think we will give a positive response to that and say we're wanting to look into this, but we might not maybe have it absolutely at the top of our priority list, but we'll talk that through maybe in terms of our where we want to go as a plan. So should we move on to that? Okay, so what I've done is I've just thought about particular areas which I think would.
Sorry, I'm just sorry, Anne. The next item's committee responsibilities.
Oh, okay, right. Yes, quite right. Yeah, yes. Which I've probably put the two together. To be fair.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's up to you.
Go on. Yeah, Steve. Yes.
Just a suggestion there, Anne, with committee responsibilities. Do you want to wait until we get somebody else on at the next meeting before you do that?
When you say committee responsibilities, do you mean who's doing what in the committee, or do you mean what the committee is going to be?
I'm not, well, it depends what the meaning, I take it the meaning of that is actually what the committee responsibilities are as a whole rather than individually.
Yes, yes, I've taken it that way, yes.
Okay, I will be quiet.
But then I doubted myself, you see. I wasn't sure. So if I could put these two together, the action plan and the responsibilities, because basically I put them in order that they go in the action plan, I think, but you just jump in, any of the three of you, and say if you think that's rubbish.
And can I just say, can you make the proposal then that we put them together so that we can?
Oh, okay, yes. Could I make the proposal? We talk about responsibilities and their order of priority in the action plan at the same time.
I second that.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Procedures, and that we're just going to make sure. Like,
you are quite right.
We'll get into
Steve, you're quite right.
Auntie Dawn would be telling us off, wouldn't she? She's quite right. Okay. So the first one that I see as being an absolute priority is our response to environmental hazards, really, which I think the two main ones in this area are going to be flood and fire. So having a flood plan and a fire plan. Did I say fly? A fire plan, yes. And I think those two are our priority, given that we had a death last year and we could have others in future if we're not working together on this, really. I mean, I think last year was an enormous shock for everyone, wasn't it? But, you know, so I think that is our first item, and that will take quite a bit of time and effort to respond to. So this is where I'm saying probably to David, we can't do all of it all at once, and those might have to be our priority just because, you know, that's risk of life, isn't it? Snow and ice could also be a priority, but I do think that, sorry, Google Chrome appearing, which is a nuisance, but that would really come under your team, wouldn't it, Dave? Sorry, Dave, yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
The snow warden side of it comes on the community.
Yes.
Bakewell have got a flood warden scheme going, which probably might help us to get involved. And I can talk to the guy who runs that if you want, or you can.
We've already had them to talk to us.
Okay.
We did a lot of stuff about this, and then COVID came along and blew it all out of the water. So
after the other year, it might be interesting if we can get that put together through the environment one, because everybody was talking about it quite a while after November.
They were, yes, yes. Not surprisingly, really. So if flood and fire were to be, as in the environment, but snow and ice will move to you as community. Yeah. That's fine, good. Then looking at climate change. And within that would involve doing an environmental review and looking at what individuals can do to take action on things like water use, electricity, gas, use of renewables, car use, pollution, all of those sorts of things, really. So yes.
Does that?
I can double check what's available, Anne, but obviously electric cars, there's going to be a big push for them over the coming years. There are grants available for fitting electric car points, but at the minute, I think you have to have actually ordered a car to get the grant to put it on. But we are registered to install EV charger points. What I'll do is I'll speak with our supplier and see what the terms for the grants are at this stage.
Okay, that'd be useful. Yeah, thank you. We ought to register that as an interest.
I think it would probably be a good idea if we can work with the Whitworth to get a couple of electric charger points in there as well.
Yes.
You know, and again, from the Whitworth's point of view, they will be able to make a bit of money out of it. But there aren't many charging points around here. There's one over at Beeley, in the pub at Beeley. There's one, but it's only for use of the building in Bakewell. I mean, I've got an electric car, and when I was during the first lockdown, I was trying to find somewhere to charge it, and I ended up at the Castle Hotel. And because that was just slow, I ended up going up onto the M1 and using one of the superchargers because I just wanted to get it done quickly. But we could do with some chargers round here. And I think that might be a good shout for the Whitworth to get some in the car park there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the district are trying to put one near the Edgefold Club.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
They said they were going to put 6 in. I don't know if they've done it yet. In different areas.
I'll have a look. I'll go down and have a look, Dave.
Yeah, I haven't been around there, Steve, but they were saying they were going to put them in.
I'll have a look.
So sorry, Anne, as a clerk, one of the things I've got on my things I need to be better at is catching actions as they come out of these discussions.
Okay, right, thank
so,
you. Well done.
I think there was a sort of action there, probably on you, Steve, if you don't mind me saying, which is to open that conversation with the Whitworth about the charger points. Is that okay?
Okay, lovely. Thank you. You did that very well, Ian. Full marks. Brilliant. Great stuff. Okay. So out of the environmental review, that would give us a strategic overview of where we're going as a whole area, what people can do themselves, and start to involve people in terms of what sort of things that they might want to take part in. And also then look at climate change agenda in terms of how things are changing. I'm not particularly proposing that we sign up as having a climate emergency, to be truthful, because I think that's often fairly meaningless. If you've actually got a plan and you're doing something, that's maybe a bit better. Go on, Dave, what do you think?
Well, the climate change thing, is that inclusive of planting trees and hedgerows and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think our two little groups would meet in the middle there somewhere.
We've got an action group up at Farley at the moment where they want to plant trees up there.
Yes.
Which is going to come on to the council because we've got to get a licence for them because they're on the highway.
Yes.
Private, and what we're trying to do down at Church Lane is down to us, but any group that want to put trees or grow planting and everything, they've got we as Darley-Dale have to have a licence to allow it to happen within the Darley-Dale area, which I checked this out with Jason Atkin the other week.
Is that because it's a designated land change?
It's because it's on county land and what have you, and it's got to go through the strategic whatever. It's not got to causing any it's obstruction and all sorts of other things. But Jason Farmer has a group of people up on Farley that want to start actively planting.
I have got a load of trees. Go on, Ian. Yeah.
I was just going to say, just so I understand, Dave, where exactly is that land that's earmarked for the planting?
As far as I understand from Jason, it's on the side of the road along the top verges, along past where he lives somewhere. I haven't been up and had a look yet. He said just mention it in the environment to see. We need to secure a load of trees and bushes.
Well, we've already secured that. I secured them a month or so back and spoke to Jason about it. That the issue is, A, knowing what sort they're going to have, and B, whether they're the right thing to plant along a roadside. Because, you know, it's one thing planting a load of stuff. It's another thing thinking about, A, what sort of thing is it? Is it right habitat? Is it actually going to improve the environment, or is it going to be a flaming nuisance? You know, who's going to maintain it? Who's going to oversee the fact that actually you've got a lot of younger saplings, once they get to a certain height, they do have a tendency to go over on the roads.
Well, Steve's on there.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, sorry.
That's okay. I think up at, because the action group up there contacted me before Jason Farmer joined the council.
Right.
And they're looking to put the trees on the verge that goes up towards the Slacks property where they have all the problems where the trees have already been removed. So they're looking to put them there. I spoke with county about this, and they said that provided we had the license, they wouldn't object.
Right. Okay.
We need a license.
So if I contact Ruth and ask her, the tree lady from county, how with license, do any of us know how we get a license, or should I ask Ruth how we do it?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Where are all these trees and bushes at?
Well, at the moment, they're in a big heap with Ruth, and we can have them, as I was saying to you, we can get some when we want them, but we've got to say exactly what we want out of the list that I've sent through to everybody. Because basically, you know, they've got, well, that's what they had at that point, and they had hundreds. Now, they may well have got rid of most of them by now, I don't know, because that was about a month ago.
Well, that's the bit that's worrying me, because I want to do a programme with Church Town School to plant all the way down the allotment area and all round the new section. I need a lot of hedging.
You are accepting the fact that that is then going to take about 5 or 6 years to grow to any decent height, and it is going to need constant maintenance after that. Well, we talked about this before, didn't we? And also whether you want thorns or not thorns, Because if you want something like blackthorn, it's great for birds, it's great for pollinators, but on the other hand, it will shred.
It's blackthorn I'm after for certain areas, because it also is a deterrent for trespass. Okay. And it grows quick, doesn't it?
It grows quick by the standards of trees and hedges.
Yeah.
But also, if you're going to have a decent hedge, you have got to shape it. You can't. It won't just sort of like. Well, some do just. Yeah. But you do have to work on them a bit.
Yeah, but if what my idea was that we could have a program where children could actually look to the future by actually doing a planting scheme that we can put in community voice and encourage it, and it might catch on. We did it at the Whitworth when we did the lake, and it did work.
Right, fair enough. So you need to tell me exactly how many you want of what out of the list that are sent round, and then I can probably have to go over to Ruth with my car.
I haven't seen a list.
Oh, okay.
So Anne, are these different to the trees we were offered by the Matlock Lions?
Yes, they are.
So,
yes.
So I mean, one of the things that I see regularly is people asking us whether we want this type of thing. I've seen 3 or 4 in the last year. So I don't think there's not a shortage of supply. We just need to, as you say, work out what it is we want and work out. And I can help Dave sources trees from the various people if we can't get them.
Yeah. And the Woodland Trust will probably provide trees for free if we go to them with a community planting.
Woodland Trust is another one that's been in touch, actually, and they were in touch with us earlier in the year. So what I was going to suggest, Dave, is if you put a list together of the trees you want, then I can talk to the Lions and I can talk to the Woodland Trust if Anne draws a blank or Anne can't fulfill it completely. There's lots of options.
Go on, Steve.
Slightly off subject, but while we're talking about trees, Anne, I'm not sure it would fall under this group or this committee or Dave's committee. The Christmas tree, where we have the Christmas tree.
Yes.
I would like to see us stop cutting trees down to put a tree there every year, and I would like to see about the viability of transplanting a tree into that site that remains it there permanently. It should be set back far enough from the road so as not to cause an obstruction. Obviously, it is going to require some level of maintenance, but I think it's better than chopping a tree down every year to put there for a couple of weeks and then moving, getting rid of it and destroying it. So I personally, I think that would be, I'd like to see that as an aim of the council, and I'd like to see that come up within the next couple of meetings for discussion. But I do think it would be an awful lot more environmentally friendly to put a tree there that is in place, that we don't have to keep taking down and putting up every year.
That's very true. Yeah. Yes. Dave?
Based on what Steve just said, I would support that. I've been looking into it. It's 450 or 500 quid for a 20-foot tree. Or you can get them at 350 to 400 for a 15-foot tree with a ball root on it. They're there to be had.
Where was that you looked, Dave?
On the website, there's loads of Christmas trees you can buy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's plenty about. It's just that's the average price I come up with, which is half what we actually pay for a dead one.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to the Christmas tree nursery at some point this week, so I will ask them as well.
That's brilliant. Yeah. There's loads of them around here, and they're growing up on the Beeley Moors and whatnot. You can still buy them from people.
Yes, yeah.
There's one up there that does them.
Yes, quite right. I'll do a few little call rounds then. Right, okay, that's a good point. So basically, the trees are going to be something we probably end up working together on, but which brings me to the next point on my little plan, which will be biodiversity. So it's looking at mapping, maintaining and improving biodiversity in the region. So we'd be looking at particular aspects that need protection. So for example, putting up swift boxes or like the hedgehog projects and stuff like that. Looking at pollinators, and that would include use of insecticides. Maybe setting up some wild areas. I haven't asked them yet, so be careful how we minute this. But Darley-Dale in bloom, making sure they're using pollinator-friendly plants, not these awful ones, you know, basically have no pollen in them whatsoever. Maybe then linking that to environmental enhancement. So, for example, having some nature walks and signposting people to particular things that are important in the area, or an unusual species or something like that. Yeah, sorry.
Again, bringing back into the school, what I'm trying to encourage down there is a nature area, yes, which I'm hoping to build in hedgerows and things like that, and aquatic stuff in the corner. But we've also had an inquiry for an apiary, which has not been taken up yet, I don't think, Ian. And we've got the similar one on the allotments where you are, Anne. They want to put bees on there as well. So it's a matter of, if they do that, they've got to have something in that area. But that would suffice for the pollinating, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be one particular pollinator.
Yeah. I'm just thinking it's a start.
Yes. Yeah. Who has asked about the apiary?
There's one on Odford. They've got an expert down there that knows all about it, apparently. We passed that on the last one, Ian. Was that the last council meeting?
We had a written submission. We asked him to consult the other plot holders down there, and he did that, and it came back with overwhelming support, Anne. And we wanted to be sure that he knew what he was doing. He's an experienced beekeeper. We spoke to the Derbyshire Beekeeping Association as well, so they're on standby if we need them. And he's also offered to mentor somebody over at Church Road, so it's a win-win. So right. He'll probably start doing it in spring. But
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Right.
It falls into my remit with the children as well, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So just need to really think about who you're going to get to do that.
To do what, though?
If you're going to have an apiary where the children are.
Yeah. Well, it won't. It's not going to be on our plot. It's going to be on your plot.
Yeah, and that's not the plan. The plan is that there'll be nothing on the community garden by way of bees, right. And it's more the allotment holders that are keen to follow the lead of Odford and do it, and you know, so that gives us the opportunity, as you said, to plant some sort of interesting plants in there. Some pollinators.
I think just be really careful, because you've got a lot of people who would like to have bees down at Church Road, and you're going to have to think about not just the first one that approaches you and calls you.
No. Well, do you know, actually, while we are talking about it, I mean, we did say this, and I mean, I think even though particularly the Odford one came from one person, it's a bit of a communal initiative, if you like. And the same's true for Church Road, actually, Dave, isn't it? I think we'll go into, so down at Odford, it's going into a slightly communal area. It's not on one allotment. And they've talked it all through, so they're all comfortable with it, and we're going to review it in 6 months. And we've given them the same steer down at Church Road, so we're in complete agreement with you, Anne. I think we've thought it through pretty well, actually.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's lovely. So having a look at bees there, then that will be very good. And then we can have a look at all sorts of different bees as well. While I am a beekeeper, I know that there are different bees.
Yeah.
As beekeepers, all just tend to focus on the one, and then other people get quite cross with us. But people like the Bumblebee Conservation Trust would come down quite happily and do any communal work we want on the allotment, you know, as soon as they're able. And they would help people do bumblebee transects and all sorts of things. They'd train them up on identification. And if we put a group together from the two allotments, that would be...
Well, this is something I'm trying to get together with a communal area that, you know, where you are, where your area is, where the sheds are. That's why I'm trying to move the shed up, so it's an area that can be used for that purpose. So anybody wants to come and give a talk or whatever, it's an area where you can educate, but it's a static area where you can put display inside it, and it's secure.
Right. Okay. If you want the bumblebee people to come, you need them to come before the end of July, because that's when their funding for their project ends. But at the moment, they've got a community worker who could come along.
What will they do?
They would have a little group of people, and they would teach them about bees generally, but particularly bumblebees, identification of bumblebees, and they'd teach them how to do transects, where they have a look at scientifically sort of what you've got in your area and measuring them and looking at that as how they're going to have more pollinators. Because
so is that something I can put towards Alison to put to the committee to explore?
Yeah. So if they want to do that, I can get hold of Rodri and he'll come when it's mutually convenient for them.
Well, I'm meeting her over the weekend, so I can explore that.
Right. Okay. And that's quite important. We look at bumblebees because they are the sort of prime pollinators for quite a few things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine.
And, the other bees, so honeybees. So that all right. Right. Okay. So that's what I've got on the list. The very small plan we've got so far.
Can I just say, I know I'm not a councillor, but what a fantastic list, Anne. Well done. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a start, isn't it? I mean, I think there are thousands of things, aren't there? And this is a problem where you could just do a scattergun approach, go all over the place. But actually, I think we've got to be quite rigorous about, okay.
But if we were able to make a sizable inroad into that list, we'd have made a massive impact. So well done.
Yeah, I think, and we can look at other things sort of like longer term. So I mean, this is like probably a couple of years work, but thinking about longer term where we want to go about flood prevention and stuff like that as part of our flood plan. That is, you will have to grow, don't you, and you're older and all the rest of it. Bring some beavers in. Sorry, Dave.
Do we? Go on, Dave.
No, I think at a point when we need to engage with landowners, because the one thing Dollydale Council is not really good at is engaging with people outside their own circle. And most of the landowners have got either the hedges, they've got the waterways, they've got everything going through their land that we need to talk to them. And when there's an issue, we know who to contact and who to talk to. Because it is an environmental issue that they control in a roundabout way.
Yeah, it is. That's true. Yeah. I think the new funding may or may not address this, because the funding is changing for land stewardship. And at the moment, you get funding if you are a land owner, not necessarily if you are actually managing the land. So you've got people who sit there with thousands of acres, raking in quite a lot of money that they do absolutely nothing with, really. And I don't know whether the new system will be any better or not, really.
No, I did notice that.
Yeah, so we'll have to see, but that's a fair point, Dave. We do need to work with people.
But there are quite a lot of privately owned small plots around Darla, though.
Yes, yeah. Well, talk to dear old Anthony, because he always keeps outbidding me on them. So that's why he holds them and I don't. Steve. Yes.
Is it worth talking to the owners of the land up near the Tipping and Sandy Path, the one that we had fenced off? Is it worth looking to see if there could be some planting goes on in there to try and encourage wildlife and bees and what have you?
It's a nice idea, but we're struggling to get any sort of conversation with him at the moment, Steve.
Right. Okay. Is that just because he's not interested in the plot of land, or is it?
I don't know. We've written to him repeatedly. Dave's had, I think you've had one call with him, Dave, haven't you?
3.
Have you? Right. Okay. I'll take that back.
Yeah.
But anything formal that comes from us, we've written to him by post on 2 occasions. I think we've emailed him a couple of times, and we get nothing back whatsoever. So it's quite difficult.
Why has he bought that land? Because he's bought it recently, hasn't he?
No.
Is he not?
No,
right there.
No, he tried to sell it in 2014.
Okay, right.
And we did as a council show an interest at that point, mainly because we wanted the piece of land that backs onto it, across the back of it as well, because it's the old nursery for Sandcliffe Hall. My interest in it is to actually take it on and then maintain it so as it's actually not an inconvenience to the neighbours and the public, but probably turn it into a nature trail or allotments. It's one or the other. We can do it in stages, but he won't play ball. He had it up for 20 grand. I've tried to get it for an offer or a peppercorn rent, so he retains the ownership. We can maintain it on a long term, but he won't play. He won't play ball.
You couldn't develop anything on that, could you? You couldn't.
He can't develop it because it's all landlocked. He's got county on one side and district on the other.
Yeah. So it's not like it's worth anything to him apart from a.
No, there's no access.
Is it really?
No.
And actually, he's the one being ransomed. It's not much.
He's also got 2 TPO trees in there and all.
Right.
So he can't move very far.
So probably we don't want that really. We want to not end up with something we'd have to do a lot of work on like that.
Well, it's not a lot of work if we can get hold of it, because if the tipping comes up for offer, we can take that on and maintain that, because district, if they wanted to get rid of the tipping for some reason, that land is part of that land, and that is my thinking, that part of the land there would make a good recreational area. But
they're not right to want to get rid of a tipping though, are they?
They're offloading all sorts of things at the moment, so I don't know. It's just speculation. But unless you speculate, you don't accumulate. I'm just looking for. There's quite a few little plots of land around Darley-Dale that nobody seems to know who owns them, and that area is a very good area for us to take on as a communal area. It's got everything going for it if we can get it and develop it properly. But it's at the moment it's in limbo. It's got it's got a bad reputation for antisocial behaviour at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I assumed that's because it's kind of getting neglected and drinking and what have you goes on up there with youths, but I do think it's because it's kind of set back, it's out of the way, it's not really thought about very much, is it?
No.
It's used a lot though, isn't it? I mean, it has an awful lot of people walking around it all the time.
I think the problem is, Joanne, it's the groups of youths that gather and go into this other bit of land that Dave's on about, and there's drugs paraphernalia, and it causes anxiety for the residents around there, which is why I understand why Dave would like to get hold of it and
the issue is, Anne, if you've got it, you don't have to jump through hoops to do anything with it. Once you've got it, you've just got to get it. Once you're in control of the land, you can do what you need to do to make the land acceptable to the public, which is to cut it through so as it's visible. At the moment, it's not visible.
Have we asked this guy a straightforward question as to whether he's interested in discussing the sale of this land at this point? Because if he tried to sell it in 2014, was unsuccessful, he was clearly trying to offload it at that point. So if we've asked that question, he's not coming back to us, I think we've got to take that as a no then, don't we?
Well, we probably do. I mean, we wrote a very blunt letter which basically said, we're concerned. There's a couple of options. One is that we buy it off you. The second is that you lease it to us on a peppercorn rent. If you're interested in either, we want to hear from you. And if you're not interested in either, then you need to do some work to stop the antisocial behaviour, and we're keen to talk to you about that as well. But actually, we got no response whatsoever. So
it might be worth just one more effort, Ian. I'll talk to you about that.
I'm perfectly happy to do that. Yeah. I'm not overly optimistic that it could run that one, I think.
I don't think he's going to do anything with it at all, because why would he want it? I mean, he's not going to care if it's antisocial. He's not there, is he?
He's not there.
It's his sister. It's actually his sister's involved in it somewhere, and I don't know quite where we are with her.
We probably need to be a bit careful about what we say at this point, though, don't we? Because we are videoing.
Yes. Yep. That's fine. Yep. Am I right in thinking that you are picking up footpaths in your bit, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because the clock's ticking on that, isn't it? Because we've only got about 8
we got the
registered. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no council sponsored piece of work at the moment to identify all the footpaths, if that's the question, right. Which we do need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously
Sorry. No, go on. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we know the main footpaths that our footpath warden looks after, but it's all the less used ones that we need to get registered, don't we, or get recognised.
Yeah.
And at the moment, there's no central effort to do that. And we probably need.
Have you got anyone on your committee who isn't doing huge amounts, Dave, who might be able to pick that up? I'm just asking because basically I know trying to set up the flood stuff is like priority over winter, and that's not time to do both. We just need someone who gets community information, because I think there are probably hundreds of footpaths all over Dydale that aren't on the definitive map.
We've got
time they'll all be wiped away.
We've got there's quite a few footpaths that actually form boundaries. One down near the Arc and one up near Northwood, and I don't know who's responsible for those footpaths. But you go further up, and that footpath develops into just a bit of a track, an unadopted track sort of thing.
Well, basically, if we've used it for a number of years, then we can register it as a footpath. Right. So what happens is, all the areas at the moment that are being used as footpaths, if we register them and say, actually, you know, like the back of the woods here, we've got a footpath that goes from, you know, the top of the estate here up to Hallmore Lane, you know.
Where are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm on the Boots Estates, but top of Broadwalk.
Yeah, I know where you are.
Yeah. So there's a cut up through the woods.
Yeah.
And basically, if that wasn't there, nobody would be accessing the woods beyond. But it's never been registered as a footpath. But actually, it's been used for more than 20 years. We can all prove it's been used for more than 20 years. So we just need to get it registered, really.
Whose land's that?
I don't know, but it doesn't really matter whose land it is. We just need to send in a map and show where it is on it. We don't need to do all the donkey work about whose land it is, whether it's ours or whether it's someone else's. That doesn't matter at all. All we need to do is send that off to rights of way with a definitive map saying this is a footpath, we want it registered. Right. And then that's up to them to find out.
That is a circular route, and also it takes off towards Two Dales along the top of the bank and along the back of the bank, and then there's a circular route that you come in from where you're on about. You go up through the woods and then you come back down, but there's two more routes down there as well.
Yeah, there's loads of paths there.
Am I right, Annie, in thinking that if a footpath appears on the ordnance survey, that's out of scope for this exercise?
I'm assuming so, because I'm assuming that's on the definitive map.
Well, I know that you and Steve will tell me off if I'm not careful here, but I could do something on this. I know you tell me off for taking on stuff, but this is important stuff. So I'm perfectly happy to work with the councillor on mapping these things quickly, you know, and getting something in.
We've got Dave, your committee is
community services.
Community services is sitting next week, isn't it?
Next Wednesday.
This could be a job that we put on the agenda for that, if possible, and get it allocated at that meeting.
Agenda's gone out, Steve. It's next Wednesday. It went out today, yeah.
Okay. To be fair, we could just... I've not seen the agenda, Ian, so is there an area on the agenda where that could be covered and allocated already?
No, I don't think so. It's quite a tight agenda. You're not allowed any other business.
Probably not, no.
No, not really.
I mean, it wouldn't matter if it doesn't happen until January, but I'm just concerned that A, if it doesn't fall between us, and given that we are all chairs of other things, I know I haven't got capacity to pick up footpaths. Yeah. I also know that we talked about it now for, well, over a year, and I know we've had COVID in between, but, you know, we started talking about it, and then basically COVID came along and we haven't done anything. But
what's the deadline? What's the deadline? Sorry, what's the deadline?
I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry.
Is it imminent, or have we got a bit of time?
It's about 18 months, I think. We've got to get them all registered.
So what about this for a suggestion then? I could put something on the website. We could get something on Facebook, get local people to tell us if they think there's paths that aren't on the map. And that'd be a start of a 10, wouldn't it? And then I can start drawing them on a map, and I can take it to either this committee or to Dave's committee in the new year.
That would be brilliant. Lovely.
Okay, which is the best committee though? Where do you think it should sit? Yours, Dave?
Well, I've got the footpath warden.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not only that, Dave also has like 7 people, I think, on the
So I'm just so we're clear, I'm going to put 2 actions. I'm going to put an action on me to start the process of pulling this stuff together. But Steve, are you on the comms? You're going to be at the comms meeting, aren't you?
Yes.
I know you might not get into too much detail, but the idea of a little campaign to get locals to tell us about the footpaths, if you could raise that, that'd be good. Is that okay? Can I put an action on you to do that?
Yes, please. Will you remind me at the? Are you at the comms?
I'll probably be at the meeting actually. So yeah, but I will remind you. Don't worry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Wonderful. Come on, Dave.
You know, with the footpaths, there's one goes through Hallmore Quarry that goes to the bridge at the bottom. Are we allowed to go across that sort of land? It's a footpath. It is a footpath.
Yes.
It goes up over the back to Blind Lane as well.
Yes, it does, yeah. Officially, the footpath, the legitimate footpath for that, goes along Hallmore Road and then up through the woods. But actually, we have used the quarry for so many years that they would have a real problem saying we're not allowed to. Because I've walked it for 20 years, so I know that it's been allowed. And they haven't done the thing where they shut it every year for a few days to make sure that it's private land.
Right.
So even when they were blasting there a few years back, you know, we were all,
It's the same. It's the same as the ones that go across near the cricket ground and everywhere. You go through the fields, which are privately owned fields, but they are footpaths, and they run round the river and along the stream down towards the cricket ground from the church.
You know, I found that the other day, Dave. That's not on any maps at all. That one that runs from the cricket ground along the river there.
No.
Yeah.
That's a good one, that is.
Yeah.
Unless we register those, you know, it may be that the landowners just don't do anything about them and people carry on using for however.
Well, the reason why I brought it up, all that land has changed hands over the last 5 years.
Yeah. And they're selling off the other side now, aren't they, as well?
Yeah.
That's up for sale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to the ones that come out near the equestrian centre, near the Churchtown School. There's a pathway through there, but then it deviates from there and it goes across near the kennels through the church. But who owns the land? It's now changed hands. It used to be the passers. Now I think it's sent to, it's a Chesterfield outfit.
Okay, right. Okay. So the issue is that while people don't mind people just going across, if it's not legitimate footpath and it's not on the definitive map, we will lose the right to use it if it gets if they change hands and they don't want people there. So this is the whole point about, you know, the definitive map will be set in stone on a given date, and that will be that really. I will ask young Patrick, who does all the stuff, Patrick Mountain from Rights of Way, to send me the idiot information on it, and then I'll send it out, because I'm an idiot and I can't remember it all. Sorry. But I talked with him about it, you see, probably about February last year. And this was something we were going to look at in the Environment Committee before you did your Community Committee, you see. But I can't remember what he said now. Lots happened since then. Yeah. Is that all right?
Mm. I'm just wondering how we can jump the gun on the next committee meeting.
Well, I think actually what Ian's proposed is a really good solution. Because if I get the information from Patrick on what you need to do and send that to you, and then if you start to get some bits from either Facebook or from the website, and we start to just do little by little by little, because that's the only way it's going to happen, really, isn't it?
And at some point, Dan, we'll be able to publish what we've got, and we'll be able to say what's missing. So, you know.
Yes, true. Yeah. So, you know, if it's not done over Christmas, it's not the end of the world, Dave, is it?
No.
No. It's just, didn't want us to lose sight of it. That's fine. Okay. Can you think of anything I've missed off my list that we should have put in?
No.
No. So if I write that up and then we have a look, and if we think about stuff, we can just add it in. That's fine. So
where are you going to go with the flood warning? Because that's more imminent than anything.
It is, yeah. So basically, what I was going to do was resuscitate the stuff that we had, because what we had was we had the flood wardens from Bakewell, we had the environmental services staff, we had DCC emergency planning, and we had, who else was it? We had someone else. Oh, the Environment Agency, of course. So we had a few experts, didn't we? Were you there, Steve, for that? No. So we had about 7 councillors who came along when they did their little presentation.
I think I was there for that, and I think I'm pretty sure I was there for that, actually.
Oh, good. Right. Yeah, it was useful, wasn't it? Yeah. So I got all the information from that. So we can start to look at resuscitating that, really, which will involve, first of all, contacting the people who are in the imminent area where it may be flooded and doing a questionnaire with them, and then starting to try and look at an ABC plan, really, which would be, because they were going to offer to train us all in June, wasn't it? That worked well, didn't it? So, you know, we got as far as looking at all sorts of things we could start to do. And then just COVID came along and everything got knocked on the head, really. So we can pick some of that up. And we talked about it being a similar sort of flood warden scheme, didn't we, to Bakewell? But obviously we would need, the thing about Bakewell is you've got a real hub of people who want to support it, because actually if they really get a big flood there, they've got a massive flood problem which affects lots of houses, haven't they?
Yeah.
Whereas here we've only got on our side probably about 3 or 4 properties that are going to be flooded, possibly depending on which bits you look at. When you look at the flood map, you know,
road.
Yeah. So there's not so many in Darley Dale. Obviously in South Darley there's quite a few.
The problem I found last year when I was monitoring it, because I was out with Jason Atkin when the floods were happening.
Yeah.
And Darley Bridge area, Church Lane area, Roseley area, and down at the Ark, they were the main focal points where things were going miserably wrong. But they've all got the same problem as well. They've all got sewerage outlet pumping stations in those particular areas, which is an environmental issue. And I've done a tour of these.
Won't they? They always will have, though, won't they? Because they're at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, and they also under capacity for the output that's coming into them. It's basically a problem. And I've been to some of these pumping stations and had a look to see what the problems are when they've had burst mains and things. So we need to have that in play as well, because if there's a flood, that's where the problem starts.
Well, they've just spent a week emptying that that area down by the Arc, Dave, haven't they? They had tankers coming every day. The road was blocked at one point. So
they've had half a dozen.
They've had it was going for a while, Dave. So I would imagine that's, dare I say, it's safe now, but the others will still be a concern.
Well, the one at 4 Lane Ends, the pump went there. They've had 2 bursts up there over the last year. They had one towards the bridge where your allotment is that way. They had a burst there, and they had a burst outside Milner's, and then the pumping station packed up.
Yeah.
It's that to me is an environmental issue. That is really an environment, because that's contamination. And when the one at Matlock went, it flooded the Tipsy Toad.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
So that to me, although we haven't got a lot of houses getting flooded, we've still got an environmental.
Yeah. Well, I think we have generally got a safety issue, because I think it was shown last year, everyone had got so used to driving through flooded water that people just didn't appreciate when it was a serious flood and when it wasn't.
No, that's what caught Annie out.
Yeah. And you just, and you know, I know a couple of the teachers at Roseley School, and they had gone in that night when the river hadn't burst its banks totally, and they were in the classrooms trying to save things. And then they decided they were too wet and cold and went. And they said if they'd not gone then, and, you know, the next river had burst its banks, that would have been it. They'd have been stuck in there and they'd have drowned probably.
Yeah, I was down on that bridge. It was coming up that fast. It was ridiculous. We had to bail out.
Yeah.
We had to get out of there.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we need to do something that's sort of like it's a safety campaign as well, don't we, with that? So.
Yeah. I think with the new 57 houses being built on the A6 on an area that was badly hit by the flooding, and whilst I know the developers have promised it will never flood, I think that's an area we've got to keep an eye on as well, because I'm sure they're taking the precautions they feel are necessary, but when you get extreme weather, you tend to get caught out, don't you?
So Anne, can I, because I've got to record this, so can I ask what the sort of action out of that conversation was, and what perhaps you need from me and Sean in terms of taking it forward?
I think sorry.
Sorry. No, your chair. You go.
Yeah. I think in terms of a flood plan, what we need to do is revamp the stuff that we'd already got and have a look at it. And I'll bring that to the next meeting. And we'll have a look at what we've got, whether we feel that's an appropriate plan, how we might take that forward. And we'll just start with flood, basically, for a couple of meetings.
Okay, so you don't need any help from me in the interim then?
I don't think so with that one.
Okay. Well, if
unless you were able to write, unless you were able to write to, it's Severn Trent, isn't it, who do the at the sewage, and just say, you know, we are looking at a flood plan, and will they please give us information about what their emergency plans are and how they're dealing with, you know, issues that have happened in the past with sewage, because that would be good to have that back.
Okay, I can do that. I'll put that as an action on me then,
Right, thank you. Dave? Yeah.
I think we could also do with Derbyshire Dales telling us who to contact in emergencies, where the sandbags are, who to contact to get them moved around, because they're quite good at it, but it's getting hold of somebody.
Yes. I think the lady from, whose name I've just forgotten, which is terrible, isn't it? The lady from County who does emergency planning, she basically said, she told us we could get stuff from Station Road.
Yeah.
County one.
We need somebody who's in authority to get it moving. When we had the problem last year, they were moving stuff around. I was ringing Jason Atkin, he was ringing somebody else was ringing somebody else, and it was going down the chain of command instead of getting into the. If we're going to have a flood warden scheme, we need to go direct into them.
Yes, I think that's what she will facilitate us setting up, Dave.
Yeah.
I think we need to write our plan. So they've given us an outline of how we can do it.
Yeah.
And then we need to actually adapt that to our particular circumstance. And then take that back to them and say, this is what we're proposing. how are we going to do this? You know, whose phone number do we have, and that sort of thing. So that would then help us, wouldn't it?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
You know. But it won't be like, that's the problem with all these things, though. It's not like an immediate, it's here. So, you know, however, we do know who works there and has a key and will go and open it up for us. So we can always do that if we have to.
Right. Can I ask one last question? Revolving around trees again and bushes.
Right.
When will I be able to plant? If I can get the trees or the bushes into the allotment area, they'll store them for me because we're out of season now. So they would store them ready to go.
When you say out of season, you're actually in peak tree planting season.
No. I mean the allotments are out of season. They're not growing things in greenhouses and things.
Okay. But so, for trees, you plant them in winter days.
Yeah, October till April.
Yeah. Well, to probably about February, March. February's getting late. So basically, you have to plant them. They will also come as bare rootstock. So some of them will come as just bare root, and some of them will come as what you call whips, which basically, you know, like willow withies, where you just put them in there like sticks. And you do a slot plant, so you literally stick your spade in, push it backwards and forwards so it makes a little dip, and then stick them in and then just sort of pat round.
So will they supply those plastic sleeves as well?
No.
No. So where do we get them from?
Why do you want them?
Stop animals eating them.
Okay. Which animals are you thinking of?
Don't get many beavers on Church Road.
This is where he comes to a next meeting with a lovely beaver hat.
I saw them planting trees up on the tops up near Slack Hill and around there. I've seen them plant, and they always sleeved them. That was all.
Are they in fields where they're going to be things like sheep or stuff like that?
Right. Okay.
Is that why they? I think generally that's what they do.
Right.
But if you don't really need the plastic sleeves, it's better to do without them, because they're plastic, and that's like a hideous waste of you know.
Yeah. Okay.
B,
cool.
They never biodegrade, so they get ripped off and then they're just floating around for 100 years. And C, basically, as the tree starts to grow, they start to split, and some of them then don't. They form little tight rings around the tree as it grows. So you get it growing at the bottom and then growing above it. Unless you manage it properly, that they don't grow very well. So,
can I just ask Ian, who's going to pursue this license to put these trees in?
I thought Anne was picking that up. I had an action on it.
I said,
to speak to.
I was going to ask Ruth.
Yeah, you were going to ask
lady.
Ruth. Yes.
Yeah. You know Ruth, who does the tree protection stuff for Derbyshire County Council?
No, I used to know the old tree woman that retired.
Right. Okay. Well, the new tree woman is Ruth, who is lovely, and she will, because she's the one who's offered us the trees. And basically, if I get in touch with her and say, what do we do about the license? She will either say, you are really stupid, we don't want you to do it. Which is right, she'll just say it to me because she knows I'm stupid. Or else she'll say, this is how you do it. Yeah. But if she feels it's going to cause massive problems, and she will be standing up objecting to the license because actually it's a really bad place to plant them, she'll just tell her straight out, right?
Okay. Well, the last conversation I had with Jason Atkin, he's got some oak trees somewhere. I don't know who's got them.
Right.
But they might be more acceptable on the verges or the areas that Farley want.
You have to really look at how big they get and how big the spread is and how wide the roots are, Dave. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, an oak tree, you know, it'll go up. It won't really grow very big for like 100 years. You know, it's a slow growing, thorough tree, you know, and the canopy it grows will be quite big. So you've got to think about sort of branches coming down. And it's really thinking about what you put alongside the road.
Yeah, it's just questions have been asked, that's all.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, oak trees would just be a wonderful thing if we can get them planted in some of our sort of bigger sort of communal spaces where they'd be replacing things that have been cut down over the years and just cleared. But they are, they're a long-term investment in oak tree, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just thinking about, I suppose we need to think about what do we want really quick, as like either hedging or sort of like a row of trees which you're going to put, and they're going to be sort of like a nice sort of.
I just want everything to grow quick.
Yeah. Not leylandii. If anyone puts any leylandii up, I shall be there with me. Axe. But so we want to have nice native trees as well, but they're going to offer something to the flora and fauna, and they're not just going to be a great big green thing in the way that actually provides nothing for anything really, apart from a few nesting birds. But
from the environmental committee, then, can we recommend through the environmental committee to Darley-Dale Council meeting that we adopt the idea of putting to plant a tree in the middle of Darley-Dale to grow, as in not put a cut one in from now on?
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Put that in. Yep, that's fine.
If it's recommended from the environmental committee, it's then an environmental thing that we're trying to save, chopping the tree down and whatever. And so what Steve's idea is, if we endorse it.
Sorry, the risk of sounding slightly cynical, it will make a good story for the community voice as well.
Very true. Yep. Yes. Yeah.
But I haven't got any more Christmas trees for next year. That's
if we want to really include the kids and things, we can have like a time capsule planted at the bottom of it, or all sorts of things, couldn't we?
Wow,
like
brilliant.
Why not? Why not?
So that could be a big project, couldn't it?
Yeah. But it'd be a good one.
Yeah.
It could follow on quite a few other projects that's going off at the moment with inclusive, school inclusive, because next year hopefully we'll be able to get people out. We've got to plan forward, not stay where we are. So anything I can see that's going to go next year, I'm in March onwards from now on.
Yeah.
That's my projection. I'm preparing for March because I can't do anything till March because I don't think anything's going to be stable. But from our point of view, if we go forward with the environment, we're at least in front of ourselves before the school term starts in that period.
Yeah, fair enough. Steve, you were going to say something, I think.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, for me, I think the important thing of putting a tree in is it's there. When forget the chopping down of the tree. If you look at the knock-on effect of the fuel to come and lift the tree in, take it back out again. It's just a wasteful way to run just for a couple of weeks. And I disagree with it. I think a tree should be put in that's there all year round, helping the environment. And then, we can put the decorations on it for Christmas and take them down again. Very little cost involved and good for the environment. I think it's what we should be looking to do.
Yeah, good point. Brilliant. So what else have we got on our agenda? So I haven't got anything else apart from dates, really. Has anybody else got anything else?
No.
Right, so we'll look at our dates then.
When you want to meet?
Are we happy with the first Thursday of each month? Does that work for everybody?
It suits me.
Yeah, okay. So on next.
So you'll be in January next, won't you?
Yeah, so it'll be January the 7th, won't it?
Yeah.
Do you want all the dates? Shall I just whiz them through my diary?
Right, now sorry, on a practical note then, just there's a few actions here. I'm going to have to try and write the minutes up next week. And for a January, effectively the office is shut for 2 weeks, either side of Christmas. So for a January the 7th, we're going to well, that would mean we need to put the agenda on first or second. And that's going to mean, it's going to cause a problem. We're not going to be clear on what the agenda is. Nobody's working on those days, so we'd have to agree it before Christmas.
Yeah.
So you might be worth slipping it a few days or into the next week.
Well, I wonder whether we could agree our agenda now, which basically would be more or less the same up to public participation, and then it would be looking at the action plan, because hopefully I would have done an action plan by then, and then looking at the flood plan in detail.
And also looking to bring somebody else onto the committee.
Yeah.
But we have to do that on the town council, don't we?
Are we going to do that in the town council?
Yeah, having said that, I have replied to your email, Ian, and said we've already got 2 committees we're looking for. We may as well add this one on as well.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
So
by the time we meet in January, you should have a new member.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay, so if the agenda is very simple along the lines you just suggested, that's not a problem. I can do that before we stop for Christmas.
Is that all right? Yes.
Yeah, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. And what I will do is I'll put an update on actions on there, because I picked up I've been scribbling down quite a few actions today. Now, they won't progress much, obviously, Anne, because of Christmas, but at least we can actions, can't we?
Yeah, and that's fine. And I think we just have to accept the fact over Christmas we will have a little hiatus. So we can all live with that. So if some of these, if you don't mind doing the actions list, so we don't lose sight of things, but then we'll maybe write a note on it just saying that we recognise some of these will go through until after.
Perfect.
We're not going to panic if we're not there. Yeah. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Very good.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you. Thank you for such a positive meeting.
Yeah, it was.
It's a good meeting.
A good meeting.
Yeah, with enthusiasts. This is good.
Well done, everybody.
Well, there's a lot of swap over between community and environment anyway, so I think that's going to work perfect.